And we are live. What is going on, Amazon sellers? Welcome to our weekly live show. I believe this is number 4, which is, I knew that we wanted to do this and we were going to really try to stick to it. Honestly, I didn't know if we'd get past 3 episodes, just because, well, mostly me, I tend to have trouble being as consistent as I would like to be, but this is number 4. And so we've kind of, jumped over the hump, and I'm excited for this. But welcome to the weekly news and opinion show. It's also where we will answer your questions. Myself, Chris Grant, and my circumlocucious co-host, Chris Rasick. Oh, that's a good one, right?
Man, yeah. Anytime there's a Q involved.
Yeah. We are here to answer your questions, and of course, we've got some news for you guys as well. But I figured before we got to the news, we've got some stuff with some real meat this week, and so I want to get a few more people in here. What's up, Everyday Unicorns? Good to see you, as usual. So I came up with a couple of stats I thought would be fun to talk about before we dive into some news. And of course, folks, if you guys have questions, I see we're almost up to 50 people here, 2 minutes in, so I expect this is going to be a big show, I hope. But if you have questions, make sure to drop them in the chat wherever you are. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I don't know, maybe next week we'll try Instagram, but I'm not really an IG. I don't have a body for IG, so I don't post a lot over there. Chris, what do you think is the most? Let me preface this a little bit. We saw the Queen Pin out in California who stole $8 million worth of makeup and things like that across the United States. But what do you think is the most stolen item across the nation in retail stores?
I think I saw a headline that spoiled this. It's razors,
Okay.
right?
It's razors. Razors. It's 2.5 times by anything else. Detergent is a good guess. Tide used to be the thing, but now it is razors, and it's for an interesting reason. I mean, it's kind of easy to spot that they're small. They fit in your pocket real easy, or if you go back to the days of parachute pants that had the cords on the bottom, stuff them down your pants. I mean, you get a ton in there. But the per pound value
I'll take your
of
word for
razors.
it.
What's that?
I'll take your word for it.
Okay. The per pound value of razors is $50 per pound. That's higher than, lotion. It's higher than toothpaste or anything else that you can steal. And the interesting thing is the margins on razors are much slimmer than I would have ever expected. They're literally razor thin.
That doesn't count as a dad joke. We're not counting that one.
That one was not great. The razor margins for a retail store are average about 5 cents per sale.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
That's
very
shocking.
surprised by that. Absolutely shocking. I've got another little thing I read that I thought was interesting. This is completely off topic. But do you know who was arrested today back in 1996?
96. Let's see. That was past OJ, right?
Yes, that would have been past OJ.
Who was arrested in 96? My criminal records are failing me.
Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
Oh.
Yeah. If he were around today, it would be bad because everything is delivered now. But over the course of 18 years, he mailed 16 letter bombs or mail bombs across the United States. Wow. It's a good thing we kind of got that under control with the fact that everything is literally left at your front porch nowadays.
I think you really don't have to even give a reason. You can just say it's bad if he was around, because
that's true.
It is bad. It was bad.
It is bad.
So
All right, this last one, and then we'll jump into the meat. I read a statistic that 54% of Gen Z taxpayers say that filing taxes has made them cry in the past, or they expect that it will make them cry this year. I asked my dad for some commentary on this statistic, and he just said, "Stop crying, or I'll come back there and give you something to cry about."
don't make me pull this tax code over.
Exactly. All right.
But don't they cry over like a regular weekday? Like, aren't they on TikTok like just with their once they get their first day job and they're like, oh my god, I have no time for me. And that wasn't
Right.
that one lady doing that?
I've got to be here at 9 a.m. Now the biggest cringe moment for me, I think, so far this year was the lady who like live streamed her firing. I mean, I understand that companies, they should answer for, treating people incorrectly, but that was
Was that the
not a
lady
trip.
at Facebook that got fired?
I can't remember where she was.
Yeah, I
It
saw
was
one
either
where she worked at Facebook and she would like live stream her day and she got a snack and ate it at the roof, did a little bit of work, and like I saw somebody like imagine the line of people once it was announced that they were going to fire her. Like
oh, I
I
bet.
mean they would have fought over it. Like
I
so many
bet.
people would want to do it.
Yeah. Noah Kagan, who runs AppSumo, he was fired from Facebook early on. I
Mhm.
think he was like employee 30 or something like that. It was right in the beginning. And he got fired because he couldn't shut his mouth. He ended up telling some reporter something because he's like, makes me look good. I tell a reporter something, and he ended up getting let go. And he's like, I totally deserved that. So
Worked out all right for him.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Did
yeah,
you read his book
he's
yet?
yep, yep, yeah.
How is it?
It was a good book. It's very simplistic, just to try to get your first
Yeah.
$1,000 business going. But it is a good book. It reminded me of some things that you know you forget way back, from reading and stuff. All right. So the big news. I was hoping we'd have a couple more people in here, but that's 75 is pretty solid. Um, low level inventory fees started on April the 1st, to much wailing and much gnashing of teeth, and renting of clothing. And by renting, I mean the WRENT, not the like actually renting it. But Dharmesh Mehta came out, and hopefully I said his name correctly, uh, on a post on LinkedIn, and he said since December they've been communicating, and I will. He's using the term communicating very loosely, okay, but says that they've been communicating with our selling partners about a new fee starting today, which will be applied to products sold through FBA that have had consistently low levels of inventory relative to their unit sales. We've heard feedback from a number of sellers that they're uncertain about how, if at all, the new fee will impact their business. So, to help address these questions and ensure sellers better understand how or if the fee will impact them, they've decided that during the month of April 2024, that any low inventory level fees is going to be credited back to sellers. Now, uh, they're going to charge them, and then they're going to credit them back just so that you can see what the fees are going to be. And then of course, they ask for, or they thank, not ask, they thank for all the constructive feedback, and things like that about this fee. um, this was it was late, but I think this was a win, at least to be able to have some time to understand the fees, whether or not, I mean, they're going to be here no matter what. Uh, but they are gonna be here. Uh, but at least we get to see what they're going to be like. So I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, the problem that I'm having is the best exercise for me to do anytime this comes up, and we've mentioned it before, is figure out, why is Amazon doing this? So, and I don't have a good reason outside of just an avalanche of panic and negative feedback. But again, this isn't the first time that they've done something or changed something or increased a fee that sent Amazon seller community into a tizzy. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Let me ask you: do you have any idea? Like, put yourself in Amazon shoes. Why would they do this?
My guess is my only guess is that maybe they are actually listening to the sellers and realizing that they really don't know how this is going to affect them, because it is a difficult to understand fee. I still don't understand it fully. I've said multiple times I'm not sure that it will be on a per seller basis, but I'm starting to maybe pull that back. And I said I would eat crow if I was wrong on that, and I will. Uh, so I mean, I have no idea. My only guess would be is that someone saw the PR nightmare that could come up if a Forbes or a Newsweek or I don't know, New York Times, somebody got their hands on a couple of sellers and decided to write a serious hit piece. But then again, who's going to care other than the seller community? Consumers don't think about that kind of thing being passed on to them, really. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Do you think there's any any beginnings of worry from Amazon internally about the population of sellers and their willingness to expand their businesses on the marketplace? Because that
That's a
question
good
does get
question.
repeated quite often now on the seller polls, I've
It,
noticed.
yep. And I have seen what I consider to be two fairly big, fairly smart sellers who have said to Amazon that they're going to be focusing on other channels solely. Matter of fact, one of them is Michael Patrone on Twitter. He posted a screenshot that he signed up for Target today, uh, and so I would say that that does have some potential. Walmart is growing very quickly. Uh, Temu has opened up their marketplace for U.S. sellers. I still don't know how many people are going to go buy from them. It's a stupid name, um, but uh, and younger people are shopping much more on TikTok and social media. Uh, so it's possible. I've also heard, I've heard a theory from another person that maybe Amazon doesn't care and they're willing to lose a bunch of sellers over all of these new changes. So
Mm.
I'm not 100. Yeah, that one seemed a little more far fetched to me. We know that they need the seller, they need the long tail. So you might have something there.
Hmm. Yeah, because it's I mean, the repetitive nature of that question. I mean, they're obviously tracking changes in sentiment.
Hmm.
And anytime they keep repeating, like, I plan to expand my business on Amazon. So
Hmm.
they're counting how many changes from the last time they asked it. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, I wonder. I don't know. I mean, Amazon is still the place to go if you want to grow your
mhm.
brand. You want to grow your business. It's still the place to go. So I would. I'd be. I don't know. I would imagine it's got to be a concern just with how fast some of these other marketplaces are growing.
Yeah, and it's not like we're third party sellers are over 60% now. So uh,
Yeah.
it's not like they can pick up the slack if people bail.
Yeah. There's
I mean,
no
that's going to
way.
lead to a bleeding of overall products.
Yeah, there's no way Amazon could pick up the slack. First of all, the first party program is garbage from what I understand. Uh, and I mean, we see some brands that are going brand direct, like Clinique, they're going first party, or what it looks like first party. But I would imagine it's only going to be those kinds of brands that actually do that. It's not going to be the middle tier brands. Okay. The next piece of news, and we are going to get to your guys' questions as well, but the next piece of news is that Amazon sellers received quite the email this week. Not everyone. Did you get this? Did you get
Nope.
this email? Okay. So not everybody, but some sellers who were probably breaking terms of service got this email. And it said, you're receiving this email because our records indicate you are generating a large number of abandoned shipment defects while creating shipments using Amazon APIs or through third-party integrators. Any shipment you ignore, delete, or abandon will generate abandoned shipment defects, which are subject to inbound defect fees. So if you use a third-party tool to create shipments, you need to contact your provider as they may be abandoning shipments on your behalf. Okay, that's the important part right there. When shipping plans are comprised of multiple shipments, you must create and send all shipments in the plan. And if you don't, you can get hit with abandoned shipment defect fees. And I didn't look them up and see how much they are. But I would imagine that if this new stick that Amazon is using to make sure that you do not do this, I would imagine that the stick will get a little bit larger and it will be suspensions of inbound shipping or suspension of selling privileges if you continue to do it. Now, the API that's being used is being replaced on December the 20th. So this won't be a big deal eventually. It won't even be something you can do. But this is a big deal right now because there are softwares that will do this kind of thing for you. And the way that it's done is you create shipments and then it goes in and it messes with the quantities, and then it gets rid of the shipments that you don't want anymore. Okay. And so Amazon is really, to me, this is Amazon really laying down the law. Doesn't sound like it, but they're trying to align our incentives to the fact that they're going to charge us more fees if we decide to keep doing this as sellers. So I think that's interesting, and that's your name today, TOS follower, is hilarious, by the way.
You pick up those late. I jump in the studio and I'm like, I got a shit-eating grin on my face, and but it's like mid-show before you realize it. So all right, so since I am the TOS follower, walk me through what they were doing. So am I understanding this right? So basically, you would go in and if you had 50 units of a product, they would say you had like 150, arbitrary number, and then you would arrange the warehouses how you want and essentially delete or abandon the stuff that Amazon wanted you to send to the warehouse that you weren't interested in.
Essentially, yes. Essentially, that's what it's doing. So, from my understanding is that that some softwares would do this all kind of behind the scenes, so you never really see it, and it doesn't show up in Seller Central either because it's all in the API. So it'll put in there that you have 2 to 3 times the number of units that you say you're sending in, and then it will optimize it to try to get it to as few warehouses as possible, and then it just abandons the other shipments. So like they are never there. And
Okay.
and Amazon does not want that. And the problem is you never see it either. If they're abandoned in the API, they don't show up in your Seller Central account, but Amazon sees them. And that's the issue.
And uh, now you have your finger on the pulse better than I do. There were companies like specifically designed to minimize the effect of these inventory placement fees, right? So essentially, that's their entire companies or services built that are mostly this is what they do, right?
Uh, I wouldn't say that they were built specifically to do this because they were around before this was really a big deal.
Okay.
But it was, there are companies who were there and doing that first. And, you know, there are other listing services that, were working on this and, and had it in the roadmap and things like that to try to be able to do the same thing. But are now abandoning this because, well, it's obvious that Amazon's not okay with it. And I had a conversation with somebody and they're like, we don't know, it seems like Amazon doesn't want this, but it's being allowed to happen. So, and you know how Amazon is, you know, do as we say, not as we do, or, there's always these little loopholes, but Amazon's closing this one up tight, it seems.
Well,
So,
this one doesn't it seem pretty straightforward, or maybe it's after the fact, but I mean, essentially, they're I feel like they're projecting the cost of FC transfers onto us, and they're basically cutting out that middle step, making us
yes.
deal with it and pay for it. So, so if you try to manipulate that system to reduce the fees and reduce the disbursement of the inventory that
Mhm.
Amazon clearly wants, probably not okay. Like
It's
that seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. Amazon's made it very, very clear what they're trying to do with, with the inbound placement, fees and their new flywheel model,
Yeah,
And I mean, I get it. I get it from their standpoint. I get it from, the customer facing standpoint. Like, it makes sense. It sucks that it's going to cost more. It's going to cost more in shipping, or it's going to cost you more in inbound placement fees, but you're going to pay it one way or the other.
right.
um the people that I think it hurts the most is going to be like wholesale sellers. They if they have a map price in place, and if they're on listings that are competitive enough where the prices can't really go up, they're the ones who are going to get hurt. Private label sellers, they should have the ability to pass that price on to the consumer because they, own the buy box, and they could do it slowly so it doesn't seem like an overnight jump. um, Arbitrage sellers, we just need to source better product. It's may make it a little bit harder, but I mean, that's kind of the nature of being in a marketplace. The marketplace matures, it gets more difficult. It can still be worth it. It's just, it's not as easy as it was 5 years ago. um,
Yeah, and really, if you think about it, as an arbitrage seller, the whole art of this thing and the skill that we develop is being able to absorb markups,
mhm.
supply chain markups all the way down the line, So,
Yeah. So let's pop in a couple of questions here. I know, and yeah, I know high price alerts can make it so you don't raise prices, or can't raise prices too high. You know, which means we have to do what we can to source our products lower. Which can be tough. I mean, I get it. I know it's not good news. Uh,
right.
but I mean, we can complain about it, which, that's fine. There's time to complain, but we just got to deal with it one way or the other. Let's see here. Jerry, a question about Aura. I have over 5,000 listings on Amazon, so I don't qualify for their $27 a month plan. Can you start at the next level and test it out? Yeah, absolutely. There's a you don't even have to go to the 197 level. They have an essential plan at 97 if you're doing less than 50,000 a month in sales, and you can start there and try that plan. And if you are over 50,000 a month, then the 197 will do it too. There's a free trial and all that stuff, just like any good software that's out there. So Mia, what is the good BSR and sellers I can check on Canadian market for newbies? Um, I don't know what a good BSR is in Canada. I've got a list on my website that shows the top 1, 3, 5% and all that stuff. If you search Amazon sales rank chart, it will show up in the Google results. But also, I'm not a believer in this. Let's stick to a certain BSR, and that's all we're looking at. Because BSR is just a snapshot in time. Bestseller rank is just a snapshot in a moment. You really need to understand the history of the product and what the demand is to decide whether or not you want to sell it. Sorry, let's see here. And it looks like Jerry here says, yeah, there are some things where the low level inventory fee is not going to apply to. There's non-standard size products. There's new professional sellers for the first year, new to FBA parent products for the first 180 days. There are some ways to get around this for a while. If you're building bundles, if you're a brand new seller, like you've got some time not to worry about this. I I'm not a huge fan of this not being charged to new FBA sellers for the first year, because I think there's a massive ability for that to be taken advantage of. Specifically, I mean Chinese sellers, from China who create accounts over and over and over and over again. And I don't think a lot of people talk about it, but that happens on a regular basis. And I don't care for that. Let's see here. Do you avoid listings if certain major sellers are on them? If so, which ones? It's a good question. What do you think, Chris? Do you avoid any listings from certain have certain sellers on them?
Oh yeah, it's a Fortress brands.
Yep.
I pivot immediately 180 degrees the other way.
Yeah.
I'm stopping my research right there.
I typically stay away from pattern as well. Some of those big brand direct wholesalers, they'll also do brand management, and maybe they won't issue IP complaints, but they can be a thorn in your side. So I tend to stay away from some of those big ones. Let's see here. Joey says he wouldn't mind as much if check-in times were faster. I'm hoping that happens down the road. Maybe they start checking in things faster because, right now, a lot of stuff goes to just certain warehouses, or, well, before the splits. Okay. Uh, you know, CLT would be one that a lot of my stuff, if I was shipping from Florida, would go to, which was great. It was close, but a bunch of stuff would get sent there, although they were pretty fast. Um, so maybe things will speed up since inventory will be placed across so many more areas.
It makes sense. I would certainly hope so.
I hope so too. Any recommendations or software for using FBA remote fulfillment to other countries to avoid listing problem listings or restricted? I don't know of anything specifically for managing remote fulfillment to other countries. I am testing something right now to sell in other countries, but I don't think I don't think it does exactly what you're looking for, everyday unicorns.
I wish there was a way to get rid of other countries. I don't even know. I can't
It
get
can
rid
be
of
tough.
Canada to
Oh
save my
yeah,
life.
yeah. Does Amazon wholesale accept bill of lading (BOL) or only invoices? There's not like there's not like an Amazon wholesale department, so I'm not 100% sure of your question. But if you're talking about like getting Ungating, they're not going to accept a bill of lading for that. They're gonna want an invoice. Oh, Luke says he avoids listings with nature's sunshine on the listing. That's that's probably a good idea. I would stay away from a lot of listings with the brand on them. Most of them, not a ton.
All those are those listings that you ever see the ones where you're expecting IP alert to pop up, but they don't. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's just a matter of time then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Windermere, Florida asked, do you do mentoring or just the OA challenge? As of right now, I do not do any like one-to-one mentoring. No, not right now.
Unless you host a podcast with them, then you can get some pre or post show mentoring. Just you got to force your way into it, but yeah, that's the only way.
I enjoy those conversations probably more than you do. So, let's see here. Sorry, are there any issues with using the Amazon credit card for Amazon to Amazon flips? I know we can't use Prime, and it's best to make a new account for this. I'd have to read the terms of service of the Amazon credit card, but I don't think that you have to be a Prime member to have the Amazon branded credit card. If that's the case, it should be fine. I would think, but I would read the term. I would open up their terms of service online, and I would just do a Control F and look for like resale, reselling, or anything like that in their terms of service.
Because what's the perk on the Prime card? Is that 5% cash
Isn't it
back?
I think it's 5% cash back on Amazon purchases.
Okay.
Yeah. Peter Century, how do we know what websites would work for ungating? So here's the thing about ungating, and this is a good question. I like this one. So the thing about ungating is I used to say 6 months ago that we're in the golden age of ungating. It seemed like everything was going through. Right now, I'd like to say we're in the bronze age of ungating. It seems to have gotten a little bit more difficult. People need to send in their receipts a little bit more often. But if the website is a mainstream website, it seems like Amazon is taking it. That's what it seems like. Now, here's part of the problem, okay? Amazon sellers have been coddled for far too long when it comes to ungating. There was a time, and I actually went and looked this up not too long ago. There was a time when you wanted to get ungated in a beauty brand, you had to submit 30 to 50 times. We had one person in our Discord submit an invoice 82 times before they were ungated. And I don't think that Amazon sellers today have that kind of grit because everything's been so easy. So a lot of places will work. Now, that's not the rule though. The rule is invoice. So technically you need a wholesaler. There are a lot of easy wholesale companies that you can get ungated with. There's Frontier Co-op, there's EE Distribution, and several others that are out there. But also, there's Kohl's and Champs, and I've heard of Target going through, but you won't know until you try. And you got to keep at it.
The biggest challenge with ungating seems to be which Amazon employee gets your request. That's the biggest obstacle, biggest crapshoot.
Exactly. And then of course everyone has these little hacks that they say work. Like I read one today that if you submit the invoice upside down, like normally the title would be up here at the top, but you submit it upside down and that gets a human review.
Go into the bathroom, you turn the lights off, you spin around 3 times and say approved, approved, approved. Either Candyman, Beetlejuice, or you'll be ungated.
Exactly. So I don't know about that. I think it's really a lot of things with Amazon is just being willing to beat your head against the wall longer than Amazon is. Deborah, is there a way for us to track and keep both a lower price for purchase and a higher price for selling simultaneously? So I would imagine you're talking on the same listing. No, not at the same time, unless you have more than one Keepa account. And Chris, I'm going to softball pitch this one to you so you can knock it out of the park. What are your thoughts on leads lists?
No, don't do it. They suck. So everything tanks. No, I'm kidding. Um, yeah, leadless get a bad rap. I think most of the time, or at least the ones that hate lead lists are the most vocal. Maybe hopefully it's a vocal minority. Um, now lead lists have multiple very good purposes. Um, there's a lot of niche lead lists, including frequency of when you get them, which obviously corresponds to changes in price. So some are more affordable than the others. This is we used to be in the bronze age of lead lists, and I think we're approaching the golden age of lead lists, because you kind of see across the industry the message is getting out that sellers and subscribers to these lists want more exclusivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a while there, we lost the point of being able to get a list and actually buy the stuff on it. Okay, which it's a good strategy to rabbit trail off of it, to explore sales and coupon codes, go through that site. If there's a code that's it's a site-wide discount, obviously it makes sense to take a spin through the rest of the website and see what else you can get. However, when I started kicking around the idea and I got better at sourcing, and I kind of came up with the idea of my niche being the weekends, because it was personal. It was a list that I would have wanted, because I was disappointed when Friday rolled around, because I didn't trust my own sourcing at the time. So I didn't like the idea that I had to wait until Monday for a fresh set of leads. I was on my own, for 2 full days plus. And I didn't trust my ability. So that's how that idea was born. But even through that, I knew I can't tell you what the perfect amount of sellers on a lead list is, but I can definitely tell you what I think is too many. And just a couple of years ago, you had some lists that were being distributed to an awful lot of sellers. But now you're seeing those numbers come down. So I don't think it's taboo to talk about being able to buy the leads on the list itself anymore, because you can get on a list with only 10 other sellers, or 15 or 20 other sellers. I don't have a list that I sell that goes out to more than 20 sellers. That seems to be my ceiling, that I've come to be comfortable with. So, but they are great. There's so many different ways, it like I said, sales codes, stores you've never heard of. It tells you, it gives you examples. If you're a new seller, it tells you what a win looks like. And as a new seller, you don't get to see a lot of those sometimes, or you see so many duds over and over again. It's good to see what the idea is. Like, okay, this is the type of thing that I'm looking for, and you can kind of replicate that in your own sourcing. So it kind of, it helps you by example.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm very pro lead list.
Yeah. I'm right there as well. Deborah, is there a way for Keepa tracking to capture bulk quantity pricing offers? So like buying from your business account? Unfortunately, there is not. They track Amazon.com. They do not track business.amazon.com. Unfortunately, there are, yeah. Let's see here. Are you guys familiar with contarmarket.com? Trying to vet them. So I just looked them up while Chris was talking, and website looks great. It's a very nice Shopify website. Um, I get a little, worried when they say things like resellers account, and things like that. And then I also scrolled down to the bottom and I noticed that they've got a WhatsApp, and that worries me. Having a WhatsApp or a Telegram just seems like one of those red flags. Like maybe they're not in the US, although they are selling to the US marketplace. And so I have no idea if maybe they're just getting a bunch of gray market goods, if they're buying all these items liquidation, and their website just looks really nice.
Yeah, you see that Facebook user is what it's listed. But they said buy a list, then check leads 45 days after they're released. That's a very, very good trick. Most of the leads on a lead list that you get, the highest value will be in that range, the 45 days, 60 days, because it's amazing how few sellers go back through their own lead database and resource what's already in their hands.
How would I get an exclusive lead list that would be worth the while? Golden Age sounds like it should be everywhere. You have to. Here's the thing. Okay, I suggest a few leads. Like I have 3 or 4 that I'm like, these guys are all great. Chris happens to be one of them. Okay, but other than that, the only thing you can do is you have to test. To know whether it's any good. I mean, that's all you can do. All right. I'll tell you what, we're going to go for about 5 more minutes. If you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them down in the chat. I will drop one more piece of, there we go. So do you find it easier to find the product to sell or to source the product? I'm not 100% sure what you mean there. Peter, I'm not sure I understand. I'm sorry, man, but if you want to retype that, we'll answer it.
Can you grab that? Oh, I'm sorry. Real quick, grab that Nicole comment.
Oh, here we
Came
go.
through 538. There are some lead lists that only share with a smaller number, but can also be more expensive too. Less eyes on the list, and some will even only allow so many per region and whatnot. Yeah, that's you have to expect that. The exclusivity, obviously a list that's only sent to 10 sellers is going to cost more than a list sent to 20 sellers. And that's going to cost more than lists that should cost more than lists that are sent to 50 sellers. But that's, we're not seeing too many of those anymore.
Not anymore. And I do like the region based ones. That's mostly going to be for retail arbitrage. I actually know a couple that do it that way. And I've always liked those. So last piece of news, which is good news for Amazon sellers. Consumer spending is up in February. So we had a pretty, what they consider a massive drop in consumer spending in January, a drop of 1.1%. But it was back up in February. However, it does say that 6 in 10 buyers are checking price tags, which I don't really find that to be out of the ordinary, in my opinion. But factors driving shopping decisions, one of the biggest ones is surprisingly enough, price was the second largest one. 30.3% of buyers say that the recipient's preferences and interests are actually the leading factor in buying, whereas only 29% said it was price was the leading factor in buying a product. So I was kind of surprised by that.
What's that? The recipients' preferences? Is that what we said?
Yeah, by recipient, it was either they're the recipient themselves, they're buying for themselves, or they're buying a gift. So whoever was getting the item, that person's preferences were more important than price. But price was a very close second.
So is that like, cruelty free and wanting, sustainability? Is that, you think that's where that goes?
I'm guessing that's where that goes. It was not very clear. The data was not super awesome on here. But yeah, I'm guessing that would be what it is, or brand, I guess, maybe, maybe they prefer Amazon over Walmart or something like that. So, all right. So, let me see here, Peter. So like, first, are you looking for a product to sell? Then you have to go find it at a profitable price. It just
sourcing
depends.
versus reverse sourcing.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on what you have the most luck with. I'll be honest with you, going out and finding a sale and then sourcing that sale is probably going to be easier than reverse sourcing. unless you know there is a sale and you can then reverse source that sale from Amazon. Um, so it just depends on what you get good at, in my opinion.
See, now I'll disagree with you there.
Okay.
I mean, now that is a good way. If you have site-wide sales and you could just page after page, you can just pound it, with
Hmm.
a seller amp or a rev seller in the sidebar. Yeah, you could do a lot of damage that way. However, I prefer reverse sourcing, seeing it on Amazon and then go and finding it, because most of my reverse searches are based on storefront stalking and other sellers. So I already have proof that not only is it on Amazon, but it's been obtained profitably.
Hmm.
So it's just a matter of whether, okay, did I miss a sale or whatever, or can I replicate a similar or better buy cost as that seller? So it's almost like it's there, you just have to find it. So I think it feels like it'd be a higher hit ratio.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. And I mean, obviously, or honestly, Google's made it so easy now that you're not really wasting your time, even if you don't find it on sale or at the right price, because I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know, 50% of the stuff I'm seeing the track price feature up in Google. And, being able to see it. I mean, heck, after I did an OA challenge live the other night, I got an item in my email that was not profitable before the OA challenge, and it was profitable right after. And since then, the price has gone back up. So it's one of those
Yeah.
kind of quick hitters.
I tell you what, learning sales cycles is so valuable. The ROI is so high on that, and it's never been easier to
Yeah,
kind of track this stuff and get automatic alerts.
yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna have to wrap it up there. I've got another live to do here in just a few minutes. Chris, thanks for hanging out, man. I'm really enjoying these. So I look forward to
Yeah, it
next
was fun.
Wednesday with you guys when we do this again. Have a great week, everybody.